My papa ran moonshine and he drank it too. He drank till he drove his family away and put himself into an early grave. I left at 16 and swore that my own kids would never grow up thinking of their father as a dealer or an addict. But it's the truth. 6 months ago, I started using the same oxy that I sold for a living, and I'd seen enough pellets to know that it was only a matter of time before my life crumbled like a house of cards. I tried everything: doctors, rehab, even locking myself in an abandoned cabin up in Papa's holler. Nothing worked, until I found Reverend Elijah Bledsoe. He cured me with a single touch, and I'll stay cured, as long as I follow the orders. "The Lord giveth," the Reverend said, with a knowing little smile, "and the Lord taketh away." Before I got hooked, I thought that I had saved up enough to leave pill running behind forever. Now I'm on another continent, living on the charity of the church, and I'm starting to think that the tasks assigned to me here are even more dangerous than dealing. Reverend Bledsoe didn't tell me everything all at once. He upped the dosage slowly. At first, it was just clearing drug dealers off the streets and around the mission. It was violent work, and it made sense why he'd been looking for a guy like me to do it. But then my orders got stranger. Follow the dealers. Report any sudden changes in their appearance or behavior. Any unnatural weather events or power outages that occur nearby. The Reverend was asking me to look for something without telling me what it was. By the time that I finally found out, it was already too late. I had just finished giving my report to the Reverend in his study, a bunker-like room in the basement of the mission that looked like it had been built to survive a nuclear war. Bledsoe had added a Turkish carpet, wood furniture, bookshelves, and warm golden lamps, but they didn't take much away from the grimness of the place. Reverend Bledsoe took his personal Bible from the inner pocket of his suit. He opened it and pulled out what I thought was an illustration, but was really a cleverly hidden card, like the tarot cards my hippie aunt used to mess around with. It had this odd design in the back, like a closed eye inside of a hand. "Do you know what this is, Brother Andy? Have you ever seen the Aiads or any of the others with something like this?" I wasn't sure. "I need you to find a young man from the neighborhood. A young man without much to lose, without many connections. I'm sure you know the sort that I mean." I did. I had been that sort of young man before, too many years ago. "You need to collect something from him. Hair, fingernails, spit, blood, it doesn't matter. Burn it, pour the ashes over the card, and recite the words that I give you. Maybe you'll notice some changes right away, maybe not. Send him to a club called Das Exil. You should ask for Conrad. Tell the young man not to leave until he has 3 other cards like this." I followed my orders. I didn't notice any of those mysterious changes the Reverend had talked about. Just one. When the blonde skater punk I had chosen to complete the task came back with more of those weird cards, I could tell by his face that this Conrad guy was dead. It's been a week since then. I hoped to put all that strangeness behind me, but yesterday night, Reverend Bledsoe called me back down to his study. "I need you to make an exchange for me." The Reverend placed the 3 cards I had retrieved into an envelope. "You'll receive 3, just like it. Check them carefully." The cards felt heavy in my hand, like their menace gave them extra weight. I stood to go. "Oh, and Brother Andy, Bledsoe grabbed my arm. "If the opportunity should arise to leave with all 6 cards, take it." Reverend Bledsoe forced me to take a paper map, one of those fold-out things for tourists. I felt like a fool trying to read the soggy thing beneath the streetlights in the late March rain, but it was my only option. Ever since I started carrying the Reverend's envelope, my phone had started acting all buggy, and that wasn't all. Occasionally, nearby lights would flicker or even go out, like some great darkness was walking with me through the rainy night. The Reverend's map led me to a rundown warehouse district, the kind of place where the only living things were weeds and stray cats. At least we wouldn't be disturbed, I hoped. Delivery warehouse, side door B. It swung open as soon as I got close. Stepping into the huge, empty space was like stepping into the belly of some monstrous sea creature. 3 men stood behind a table. A single red candle was the only source of light. It made me think crazily of ambushes, night vision goggles, knives in the dark. I sauntered up to the table with confidence that I didn't feel, and I laid down my envelope. Without a word, the man on the other side reached inside of his jacket, and my hand instinctively reached for the pistol that I no longer carried. He took out an identical envelope and passed it across the table to me. It held 3 cards like the one that the Reverend had given me. I gasped when the man across the table took the cards that I had given him and passed them one by one through the flame of the candle. They should have burned, but they didn't. He bent them, tore at them, but they were completely unharmed. It was some kind of test. I frowned and did the same with the cards that the stranger had given me. As each card passed through the flame, I heard something in my head, a kind of excited whispering, like something caged that was eager to get free. I stuffed the cards back in their envelope as quickly as possible, and that should have been it. Just like so many deals in rest stops and parking lots all up and down the I-75 back in the USA. Wordless goodbye. See you never. Gunfire shattered the silence. Red stains bloomed like flowers on the yellow, soaked shirt of the man across the table. I hit the ground as more shots rang out. Something slammed into the table. The candle went out. I crawled behind some shelves, and the stranger's ragged breathing and the running footsteps of our attackers was ringing in my ears. The stranger was dying. That much was clear, but he wasn't going quietly. He whispered something under his breath, over and over in a language that I didn't understand. Biezaliel, Biezaliel. Gusts of cold, dusty wind began to blow toward the dying man behind me, but I was too busy trying to stay alive to worry about the weird indoor weather. I kept moving on my hands and knees toward where I hoped the wall would be. I was crawling blind through a maze of broken wooden pallets, cardboard boxes, disused equipment. When 5 flashlights lit up behind me, I knew that I was screwed. The brilliant beams of light were military grade, and in their glow I could see that I had been scrambling in the wrong direction. The wall with its emergency door was too far away. I would never make it without being seen, and if I ran, they would gun me down for sure. I thought of Lee, the look on his face the first time that I took him fishing, and then Amber eating a huge plate of pasta at the kitchen table after her track meet. So many memories, and here I was, about to lose them forever. but the attackers weren't looking in my direction at all. Their flashlights were fixed on the spot where the stranger had fallen. The darkness there was thicker. It seemed to drink up their light. The Reverend had preached about the pillar of fire in the book of Exodus, but this was a pillar of shadow, and the bullet-ridden stranger was moving inside of it. He rose jerkily, unnaturally to his feet, almost like a human-sized puppet. I wondered what was pulling his strings. He shouldn't have been able to crawl so fast, not after 3 shots to the chest, and the darkness shouldn't have moved with him. The glow of the nearest attacker's flashlight disappeared into it. Panicked gunshots, a scream, and then nothing. The other attackers trained their beams on the moving darkness with no effect. The thing inside was coming for them, one by one, and when it was done, I could see its handiwork in the wild, rolling beam of a fallen flashlight. These men had been trying to kill me just seconds ago, but I still felt sick when I saw how they had been twisted. They were bent and broken until not one limb faced in the right direction. Their shrieks finally got me moving. Just when I was about to sprint for the door, I heard Reverend Bledsoe's voice. "If the opportunity should arise to leave with all 6 cards, take it." The flashlight on the floor continued to spin, casting freakish shadows through the huge warehouse. I caught a glimpse of the knocked-over table, the snuffed-out candle, and the plain-looking envelope beside it. There was a burst of sound, something scrambling unnaturally fast on all 4s off to my left. I grabbed the rolling flashlight and ran for the fallen table. A wall of night stepped between me and it. The light in my hand had lit up the warehouse in front of me, but suddenly, I could barely make out shadows a few feet ahead. Cool fingers came out of those shadows. They wrapped around my forearm and snapped it like a twig, and I knew they wouldn't stop there. I could feel their excitement, their eagerness to mangle me more. I couldn't see the stranger's face, but I aimed for where it should have been and stabbed forward with the flashlight. Beelzebub, I cried out, not knowing why. A shriek pierced the darkness and I passed through it. I threw the flashlight as far as I could. 2 fast, crawling steps chased after it as I crept through the pitch-black warehouse toward the door. My shin slammed against the table, the stranger's envelope. I felt around on the concrete floor until I grabbed a hold of it. An angry, guttural roar and the echo of a shelf being ripped down let me know that the flashlight had been found. I was out of time. I ran my shoulder into the door and burst out into the night. Distant sirens told me someone had finally heard the gunshots going on. I smirked in spite of the pain from my broken arm, wondering how the authorities would explain what was inside of that warehouse and what wasn't. There would be no sign of the thing that had shattered those men so horribly. I knew that because, as I staggered back toward the mission, I took one last look over my shoulder. The stranger, or the thing inside the stranger, stepped out through the delivery door. Its movements were much less jerky now, more natural. It snapped its twisted neck casually back into place and closed its suit jacket over the bloodstains on its shirt. Its eyes met mine, and for a second they were no longer the sad brown eyes of the stranger from across the table. They were the color of ink. with pupils as white as an arc welder's flame. The next thing that I remember, I was pushing my face off of the wet, nasty sidewalk with only one working arm. I'd fainted. The thing wearing this stranger's skin walked calmly away in the opposite direction, laughing to itself, laughing like a condemned man finally set free. The streetlights above it flickered out, one by one, as it passed.